How's it going? So today we got a lot to talk about, a lot going on over the weekend. Most notably was the United States kicking the crap out of Canada, whooping them at their own sport, hockey. That was kind of an interesting way to start off the day yesterday. So I think that Canada's been talking a lot of crap, and it's kind of fun to see it play out on the hockey rink and see them kind of get get what they deserve, you know. And yay for America, we needed kind of something to maybe bring us together, something to root for in a world that seems like it's just gone crazy and that we're constantly fighting and arguing and bickering and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I get a lot of comments from people from Canada. And it is I've always my whole life I've always thought that Canadians were like these super nice people who were just passive and kind of just nice and welcoming and everything. But I've gotten some of the meanest, nastiest shit from Canadians, and they're just very. Most of the comments are always very like arrogant and thinking condescending and thinking that they're so much smarter and so much better and all these kinds of things. And it's just kind of nice to see them get slapped down by America in a sport that we don't even really even it's not even really it's just kind of like a niche sport that we don't really even pay attention to in most of the country. um, so it was a big victory. It was fun. I got a lot of stuff about that coming up. It's There's one of the interesting things also is that um, Gavin Newsom was given a talk and had a little bit of uh, you know a bit of a stumble up on stage. When you act like you're morally superior and self-righteous and better than everybody else, then you are held to a higher standard, and everything you say is going to be mocked and ridiculed when you say stupid things. And it's funny to listen to these white liberals talk to black communities or about the black community, because they literally can't really say anything without sounding super racist. It's hilarious. I think it's so funny. And Gavin Newsom's no different, right? It's They try to act like they're part of the community and we're cool and we're down with black people. Even none of these liberal people live anywhere close to black people. None of them have any knowledge of the black community or any. It's all pure pandering. It's just they're all constantly looking down on the black community while they're getting all the votes still. I don't know how they're still getting all these black votes. It's ridiculous because they have obvious disdain for the black community, and Gavin shows through with shining colors. Um, Hey, if you guys want to, you can post comments. I'll try to keep up with the comments if you want. Don't forget, like and subscribe so that you can notified every time I go live. I'll be doing some more. I took a little bit of a break. I was on vacation. I went on vacation to Florida, got some sun, enjoyed it. It was nice. Went down there looking for a condo, and maybe I have one in a different location in Florida. We're thinking about moving to a different location. So we went and checked out the area. Didn't really care for it all that much. So I think we're probably going to just keep the one we have where we have it. So, but Florida, I love it. We'll probably move there one day. Beautiful weather, lots of nice, welcoming people, lots of good benefits, no income tax, things like that. So, yeah, well, anyway, there's also a lot more going on than just Gavin Newsom being a racist on stage while he's talking about his book to a group of black people, which is pretty hilarious, I think. And there's, the celebration from the hockey win. There's also a lot of other interesting things too, like Americanism, who's proud to be an American. I've got a poll about that. You know, basically, the Democratic Party is not proud to be. I mean, this isn't like shouldn't be shocking to anybody. And we always need these polls to like tell us things that we already know. Oh, who knew? Republicans are proud to be Americans and Democrats are not. Wow, shocker, right? I mean, everybody knows these things. Everybody knows that this is the case, but we always have to back these things up with polls and evidence and all this kind of stuff. I should get into stereotype accuracy one of these days, because that's a pretty interesting phenomenon. Um, Oh, there was an attempted assassination attempt on Trump at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. The assassin was shot and killed as he was attempting. But anyway, enough of me talking. Let's get into this Gavin Newsom clip because I think you guys will find it pretty funny because it shows how like his Gavin Newsom. I mean, he probably doesn't have any black friends. Probably has never been to a black area ever, without his security team or something like that. Doesn't know anything about the community, doesn't care, is not interested at all. But he tries to act like he does. There's polls that show that when Democrat politicians are talking to the black community, they dumb down their words because they think black people are too stupid to understand how white people talk, I guess. And so anyway, let's get into this Gavin Newsom one and we'll chat about it a little bit.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in. I'm not.
Although somehow he wrote a book because this is him on tour promoting his memoir. But it's just funny. So I am just like you, right? Trying to bring out his Barack Obama type talk and, talk slow and, use big breaks so that they can comprehend what you're saying, and then to say, hey, I'm just like you guys. I'm dumb too. I got a 960 on my SAT, just like all you black people. Not a good look. This is how they really think. This is what they really think of the black community. They're just like, oh yeah, and I can't read. I can't read either. So I'm just like you guys. I'm just like a black person, basically. I can't read and I'm dumb. See, this is what the Democrats and the liberals really think about the black community. They have no respect for it, no interest in it. They try to identify with it by choosing the stupidest shit. He might as well have said, you know what? I'm just like you. I just got done eating some watermelon and I just got done eating some fried chicken. I love fried chicken. I just threw my bones on the sidewalk while I was walking. I'm just like you guys. Right? I mean, come on. Oh, it's so funny. Oh gosh. And yet, probably not a single black person's going to not vote for this guy just because he's a Democrat. And, he has to play the dyslexia card because he's straight white guy, right? Good looking, straight white guy. And he's in the Democrat Party that does not like those. And so he's got to be like, I don't know, I need to be some kind of minority in some kind of way. I need to have some kind of impairment. I need to have some kind of oddity about me or minority status, something. Dyslexia. That's what I have. Yeah. So see, I'm just like you guys. I'm a minority too because I have dyslexia. So silly. But this is how you have to play politics when you're a Democrat. You have to find some way to be oppressed or marginalized or something like that. But I think it's pretty funny how he not only Gavin Newsom does this too. It's also, Kathy Hochul did the same thing.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
Oh, that's so good. Oh man, I love that guy. That is hilarious. So Kathy Hochul, black kids in the Bronx, they don't even know what a computer is. I mean, it's like they live in in huts. They've never even seen one. They wouldn't even know how to use it if they did. because they're so out of touch, and their culture is just so bad. They don't even use computers. I mean, how ridiculous. How ridiculous. They can't even they this is their attitude towards the black community. And yet the black community consistently, constantly is voting for these people. It is absolutely insane. Hopefully the tide's starting to turn and they can get away from these Democrats, because they don't have any interest in actually knowing anything about their community. And everything they say it runs them down, looks down upon them. They're like, the black community is a bunch of children that need us white people to take care of them because they don't even know what computers are, and they're dumb and they can't read. Right? This is their attitude.
I used to be pretty woke. I had the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. I thought everybody who voted for Donald Trump was a racist. All that changed when I encountered a Yale study in 2018. The study found that there was a difference between how white liberals and white conservatives talk when they talk to black people. And when I saw the headline, I was jubilant. We got them. That's what I thought. Turns out the opposite was true. The study found that when white liberals talk to black people, they do something called presenting lower competence. They dumb down their vocabulary using fewer syllables than they do when they talk to white people. And white conservatives don't do this. I remember seeing the study and thinking with horror, and we liberals call conservatives racist? What could be more racist than the patronizing view that black people need to be protected from our big vocabularies? Yet it was this patronizing view that minorities are oppressed and in need of saving that I could suddenly see was at play in much of the progressive worldview. It caused me to think, well, if I'm wrong about conservatives being racist, what else might I be wrong about? A lot, it turns out.
Well, look at there. When white liberals talk to black people, they dumb down their language so that they can be on the level that they perceive black people being on. Conservatives don't do that. We just treat them like normal people. I don't care. If you're a black person, we'd just talk to you the same way we talk to everybody else. That's just how it goes. That's literally, white conservatives are the least racist people in the country. It's just a fact. I got a chart I'm going to show you a little bit later here that proves that. And yet the liberals are always trying to present white conservatives if they're the most racist people in the country. It's more projection by the liberals because they're actually the ones who are racist. They have their racism of low expectations, that they have to dumb down their speech, that they identify with them because they're stupid and they can't read. It's the liberals who are the racist ones, and everybody should know this. It's not a secret anymore. There's no longer can they hide behind the lies that just because they give a bunch of money to the black community that they're somehow not racist. You know, it's just crazy. I can't believe it still goes. They still get so much support. All right, so let me see. Take a look at some of these comments here. I see we've got some. Talk to us about the tariff ruling. Yeah, the Supreme Court struck down Trump's tariffs, but that's not going to stop Trump from tariffing. He's got a lot of other ways in which he can do it. And in fact, he just did a 10% tariff on the whole world right after. He's considering doing it to 15. And maybe he already did that. But it's just a certain version of tariffs that he was using. He can still use tariffs. So I don't think that's really all that much of an interesting storyline. I think obviously the Democrats want it to be a lot more important than what it really was. But if anything, it shows that the Supreme Court is not in Donald Trump's pocket, as the Democrats have always been saying. Every time they rule in Trump's favor, they're like, "Oh, see, he's got them in their pocket. They're just shills for Donald Trump." And then when they go against him, do you think that they take back all those? No, they don't. They still think that any time that the Supreme Court sides with Donald Trump, it's somehow oppressive and Trump's a dictator and stupid shit like that. You join ICE yet? You love them so much. Why not live stream you joining ICE on live stream? Wow, that was redundant. Why? What? I don't. I mean, I am in favor of ICE. I think that it's good to get child rapists, pedophiles, sex traffickers off the streets. I would think that would be a normal thing for a normal human being to think, but apparently Democrats and liberals are not normal people. They want those people running around the streets because they don't care about our communities and they don't care about the danger they're putting children in. They want them to be in danger. They want them to be, just because they're a pedophile doesn't mean they shouldn't be running around in the streets. Just because they sex traffic children doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed to be free and shouldn't be allowed to live in this country. Yeah, so dumb. I didn't say male. I said white conservatives. And it's factual. And so we'll see. You'll see when I show you the evidence here. Republicans, you do realize that there are black Republicans, right, William? Or is this your secret racism is showing again, where you think Republicans are just white people? You realize that there are black conservatives? Do you know this? Or haven't actually done any research? You don't actually know any real Republicans or watch any Republican content? Because turns out there's a lot of black people who are Republicans because, they're not all just shills for the Democratic Party and they think for themselves. You know what? There's also Hispanics who are Republicans. Did you know that? Did you know that the Republicans aren't just all white people? Your racism's showing. You better tuck that back in. Trump is an ignorant racist. That's why he's such a hero for the uneducated. Okay, yep. Yeah, he is definitely ignorant racist, even though he wins awards from the NAACP and he has all kinds of black community organizations who praise him on stage and say he's the best president that's ever existed for the black community. But yeah, you keep going with the MSNBC narrative that somehow he's this racist bigot guy. It's so stupid and it's overdone and it's ridiculous. Nobody buys it anymore. I mean, you and your little clique of people are going to always think that with no evidence and no real objective data to prove it. And but it used to work for liberals and Democrats to just go out there and call everybody a racist, and then it would shut them up even though they weren't racists, but it would get them to stop talking so that you could dominate the culture and dominate the conversation. And those days are just over. Those days are over, especially with Gen Z coming up. They are not into they actually probably prefer you to call them a racist. These guys are so over it. You can call them a racist all day long. It's not going to affect them one bit. They're not boomers, okay? The racist thing works on boomers, okay? Because they still are brainwashed with this stupid ideology that somehow if somebody calls you a racist, then you are. And it's just retarded. But Trump is a hero for the uneducated. That's what used to be called the working class. And the Democrats abandoned them, and so they had to go find another candidate that took them seriously. And you can even just from your comment, you can tell the disdain that Democrats and liberals have for the working class normal person. They hate them. They think they're stupid. They think they can't think. They think that because they don't go to their country club parties, that somehow they're beneath them, that if they don't know about critical race theory or some other propaganda bullshit spread by the liberals, that somehow they're dumb. And, it's just not the case. The working class likes Trump because they were abandoned mostly by the Democrats, who used to be used to be on their side, used to be fighting for them, and they gave up, and now they're just a party of the elites, party of the professors and the people who don't actually accomplish much, but talk as if they do, who think that just because they have gone to school and have a PhD that somehow they're actually intelligent. It's just not the case. This country is not is the majority of this country is not those people. And it's tiresome, and it's what has gotten the Democrats to the lowest approval rating that they've ever had, is because the same smug arrogance that Canadians have towards America is the same smug arrogance that the Democrat leadership and most of the Democrats have towards the normal American who celebrates a hockey game and their country winning, right? And you guys look down on that as if, oh, that's so uneducated, animalistic behavior. It's like you're totally out of touch with what American life is like, and what the normal person is like. Democrats don't understand normal people. They understand the fringes. They understand the freaks, the transgenders, the gays, the whatever, any kind of those types of people. They think that those people are a large majority of the country, and they're not. The large majority of the country are people who want to sit and watch the game, who want to celebrate, who want to get a beer with their friends, who go to work every day, who labor, these are the normal people. So, anyway, speaking of the game, let's take a look. So the U.S. beat Canada in hockey. They're celebrating afterwards, and this is like the most American thing you can. I mean, does it get any American than that? Look at that. These young guys celebrating the team, the bond. This is America right here. This is what we're trying to preserve. This is what we're fighting for. And this is the thing that the Democrats and liberals despise. They don't like the look of this. They don't like that these guys are conservatives. They don't like that they're proud of their country. They don't like that they're listening to country music. They don't like that they're patriotic. They don't like any of that stuff. It makes them uncomfortable. It makes them cringe. And they've been posting online all the time. If anybody else cringe at how much they celebrate the United States, it's ridiculous. It's our country. Of course we're going to celebrate it. It's a great country. Of course we're going to celebrate it. But what are you going to do? We just go our own way, celebrate what we celebrate. And I thought this was pretty funny. This is a normal 20-some-year-old guy right here. This is what is coming up. This is pretty hilarious, I think. That's hilarious. That's so funny. I think a good guitar player, by the way. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice. Sorry, I'm not able to keep up on the comments here. There's quite a few coming in here. Most of it probably nonsense as usual, but I actually didn't watch the game. I had other things going on, so I wasn't able to watch the game. I just had to watch recap of it. Well, it would be nice if the Democrats actually talked about the working class, and if they actually had a plan for them, and if they didn't look down on them and despise them constantly. But, just like you, they won't do that because they are stuck in their elite status, thinking that college somehow still matters the way it used to when it doesn't. And, I encourage people to go to college. I think that it's good, but it's not the end all be all. I think the trades are just fine. I have no problem with people going into the trades. I think it's a great idea, and I think there's a lot of demand for it. So, let's see. Yeah, this is not surprising. New poll shows liberal women the most unhappy and lonely group of people in the country. Liberal women between the ages of 18 to 40, nearly 3 times as likely as conservative peers to report frequent feelings of loneliness. And why do you suppose that is? What's driving that? Why specifically liberal women? Or is it they're liberal women because they are unhappy and lonely? Which one's driving the other one? Maybe they're unhappy because they're liberals, or maybe they're liberals because they're unhappy. And the liberals are full of a bunch of unhappy crybaby wussies who constantly complain and bitch and moan. And so misery loves company, right? So that would be the group that you would join if you were sad and lonely. Also, they don't get married, they don't have kids, they have sort of bought into this idea that if you go to college and you get a master's degree in social work or something, that somehow that makes you a good person, and then you're going to be happy. And then they realize when they're 30 that was all bullshit, and it depresses them. There's a lot of things going on there, but I don't think it's that hard to see this in the real world, that liberal women are unhappy and lonely. And what happens as a result is they get super pissed off, and they're looking for something to bring them meaning. And that's why they go to these protests, and they stand in front of cars, and they stand in the highway and do all this stupid shit, because they don't have meaning. They are unhappy, they're lonely, and this is the way that they find their community, or at least they think so, even though nobody in that community gives a shit about them. So this is what I was talking about before with the patriotism thing. So are you proud to be an American? Pride in being American by political party from 2001 to 2025. How proud are you to be an American? Extremely proud, very proud, moderately proud, only a little proud, or not proud at all. So here you can see the Republicans basically haven't changed since 2001. They were at 90%. Now 92% are proud to be Americans. But look at the Democrats here. They used to be just like the Republicans, basically 87 to 90% back in 2001. And it's just gone down ever since. Even when Barack Obama was president, it still was not as high as what it was in the early 2000s. And it's just kept going down, going down, going down. And now it's at 36%. Only 36% of Democrats are proud to be Americans. And that's pretty depressing. It's because there's been so much propaganda out, and now who doesn't think America has made major mistakes and had problems? And of course, yes, we've done bad things, made mistakes, gone to wars we shouldn't be in, done all these kinds of things. But that doesn't mean that you have to hate your country. And most of this is just Trump derangement syndrome from the Democrats. You can see how theirs fluctuates wildly depending on who the president is. So, when Biden got elected, then now we're a little more patriotic, still pretty abysmal. And then Trump gets reelected. Oh shoot, now we're not patriots anymore. As if the country is only the president of the United States or the politics. See, I think this is what the Democrats get confused, is they think of America and they think politics. And the Republicans think America and they think the culture, the people, our families, that kind of stuff. And then the politics is just part of the American experience. But the Democrats think it's all about politics. They're obsessed with politics. They think that's what it is. That's what America is politics. And that's actually never been what America is. America is the people here. We're America. So anyway, this shouldn't be surprising to anyone. We all know that there's far less patriotism and pride amongst Democrats for being an American. They're constantly running down America. Oh, America's the most racist country. America's terrible. America is on stolen land. and just let people take over our country because who cares anyway? It's nothing worth preserving and all that kind of stuff. And, this is why these young liberal women are depressed because, what's the point? What are we even doing here? No purpose, no meaning, no higher understanding of what the country really is. And but it's interesting because the Republicans, it doesn't really even matter who the president is. They're still proud of their country, proud to be American, even if Barack Obama's in power and hates the country, even if Joe Biden's trying to destroy everything, they're still proud Americans. Your leadership is a reflection of your country. You can be patriotic and ashamed of your country at the same time. Yeah, I suppose. Leadership definitely is a reflection of your country. And you can be, but the thing is that the Democrats are just ashamed of the country, not patriotic, as that chart's showing. They're not proud of the country. They're always ashamed, constantly ashamed of it for no real good reasons. I mean, maybe it's because they just have never been to any other countries. I've been to a lot of other countries, and America's by far better. We're at better run. Even when Democrats are running things, it's still better run than a lot of other countries. And that's saying something now. That's how bad these other countries are run, how bad their leadership is, because, even California is better run than a lot of these foreign countries, and it's run like a total shit show, Oh, well, that's a nice segue into this clip here. So this is Fareed. He's talking about the NGO fraud, and this is something I haven't talked about for a while, but the fraud is through the roof, especially in blue areas, especially in places like California, Minnesota, Illinois. We're starting to find out more and more of the fraud, and it's just absolutely crazy. So there's probably going to be trillions of dollars of fraud in California once all this is said and done. Trillions of dollars of fraud. All the NGOs there, 90% of them are going to be just money laundering operations for the Democratic Party. Money just handed out with no concern for where it goes. $20 billion for homelessness, and all the money is gone, and you still have more homeless people. $20 million for a high-speed rail. All the money goes missing. Not a single piece of rail is put in. And then Gavin Newsom goes on and says, this is a great project. We're really making headway, and all the money's gone, and now they're asking for more. So where does the money go? It gets stolen. It gets siphoned off. It gets paid off to another group. That's another group to another group who are their friends who pay themselves $1 million to be the CEO of this other NGO that's doing consulting on the high-speed rail. And that this is what's going on. You can't spend $24 billion and get absolutely nothing done. It's just not even possible. How do you not get anything done after spending $24 billion? And so California is under scrutiny, and we need a lot more places under scrutiny, and not Republican places, Democrat places. I say all of them, scrutinize all of them. I want to know where all the fraud is. I want everybody who's defrauding us and stealing taxpayer money. I want them all locked up. I want them all fired. I want them all kicked out of office. I don't care, red or blue. It just so happens that the blue parts of the country have a lot worse fraud, a lot more fraud going on there, a lot more. And if you can't see that, and if you don't agree with that, then it's your bias, totally biased, and you're out of your fucking mind. Now, do I think there's fraud going on in Texas and Florida? Yeah, I'm sure there is. It's nowhere near the scale as in these blue areas.
New York is really a prime example of a problem Democrats seem unwilling to confront. Blue cities are out of control, promising more, spending more, delivering less, and pushing off the fiscal problems to some future day. Take Los Angeles, another one-party metropolis wrestling with affordability and disorder. The city's homelessness budget for fiscal year 2025-26 totals about $950 million. The LA Homelessness Services Authority reported that in 2023, homelessness was up 9% countywide and 10% in the city. And a 2024 AP account noted that homelessness has surged 70% countywide since 2015 and 80% in the city. All this amid public frustration despite billions spent. An audit reviewed $2.4 billion in city homelessness funding and found that officials could not reliably track where it went or what it achieved.
They don't care.
Or take Chicago, with a mayor whose approval rating is deep underwater, where the pension promises are so large that they will surely bankrupt the city at some point. What is the theory of good government here? If the answer is keep adding programs, the city will keep producing unaffordability, because unaffordability is what happens when government becomes a machine that grows faster than the society it governs. Zohran Mamdani's basic instinct is correct. Focus on affordability, especially housing, but not by providing government subsidies. These only seem to have driven up the cost of rent, as subsidies naturally do. The city's rental assistance spending rose from $263 million in fiscal year 2020 to $1.34 billion in the most recently reported fiscal year. That is a 5 times increase in a handful of years, and housing costs only got worse.
Well, why do you suppose that is? Do you suppose there was maybe, I don't know, millions of foreigners who came into the city during that time period? Anybody think that that's maybe what happened during that? You know, you get millions of people who come into your city that you have to take care of. And it's going to cost you a lot of money. And the local people aren't going to get any more for their money. You know, it's easy. The blue states Democrats used to be able to run things, okay? They used to care about fiscal responsibility. They used to care about the net results. They used to know how to manage money. Now you get these people in charge. They just don't know the fucking thing about anything. You get a bunch of morons running these cities, and they don't have any experience with finances. Zohran Mamdani doesn't have any experience with anything. The dude's a total loser who's never done anything in his whole life, who's a trust fund baby, doesn't know the first thing about money, doesn't know the first thing about the world, doesn't know anything. He's a failed rapper, and that's it. And yet, because he says some nice things, people elect him in there, and he's already bankrupting the city. He doesn't know anything. You can tell. Just watch his press conferences. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He's trying to figure it out as he goes. You know, and now he's got this idea that he's going to just pay normal people to go out on their sidewalks and scoop snow because they couldn't get the snow removed, because the snow people don't like him and don't want to work for him, and they're going to strike. And so it's just wild, you know. And so we can't just keep shoveling this money into the black hole of fraud. And so the blue cities, they always think the problem is that they don't have enough money. That's the problem. We need more money. So we need to raise taxes on this and raise taxes on that and raise taxes. They never even consider that maybe they're spending the money recklessly on things that they shouldn't be spending money on, or that the money is getting taken by fraud and the efficiencies are everything's ridiculously inefficient. You know, California has plenty of money. They're super rich. Okay. There's no reason that they shouldn't be able to pay for everything. There's no reason they need to have a debt. There's no reason they ever would need to raise taxes ever again on anybody, because they have so much money and they're so rich, just like New York. There's no reason that they need to do that. The only reason is because the money's being misappropriated, the money's being stolen, the money's being spent on stupid shit, and the oversight isn't there to keep people accountable. That's really what's going on here. You know, they don't need all of this extra tax revenue. The city of I believe this is right. New York City has a larger budget than the state of Florida. Is that right? I think it's something crazy like that. And so, you know, what are you going to do? That's why I don't live in a blue area. You know, they've lost their minds. They've lost their common sense. They think they can just keep spending and throwing the people's money away. And that's why people are fleeing their states and their cities. The normal citizens, they're moving out. They're going to Texas. They're going to Florida. and they don't want anything to do with this crap anymore because they feel like it's hopeless to even try to correct it because the corruption has gotten so bad and democratic interests have gotten so entrenched and the lack of fiscal concern has gotten so bad that there's no way of overcoming it, unfortunately. So they're going to red states where the finances are managed much better, where the people are much more conservative with the way they spend money, who want evidence of the money being spent that's going to where it's supposed to be going, all those kinds of things. And that's not an unreasonable thing. And so when you do oversee the funding and the spending, then you actually don't need as much tax revenue. This is pretty basic stuff, but it seems like Democrats can't quite figure this out. Their solution is always just like, I don't know, let's just bilk the taxpayers for more money. That'll solve the problem. And then we'll just throw that money away and still nothing will get done. So why would people want to give you more of their hard-earned money when nothing actually gets accomplished with it? So, and anyone who is trying to be truthful and honest can see that this is plainly a Democratic problem. Plainly, the Democratic Party has some major issues when it comes to money. They're not interested in balanced budgets. They're always trying to get more. They're wasting it on pet causes and funneling it to their friends and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, come on. Who would want to be part of that party? Oh. All right. Well, here, let's get into this. This is more Wesley for Texas. This is one of his ads.
What do you mean we're lucky to be white?
It's not luck, it's privilege.
We're privileged that people see us, not a color.
Privilege that we don't get stared at when we walk into the room.
Privilege that we don't get followed by security when we go shopping. Or pulled over when we're in the wrong neighborhood.
We're privileged because society was set up for us. And our silence keeps it in place.
We're privileged, and that's unfair.
Oh, it's
what do you mean we're lucky to be white?
Dumb. So dumb. The kid's still pushing this stupid narrative. Oh, it's so funny. It's like these people still think this is 2020. You know, they still think that this is BLM or some shit. You know, it's like, oh yeah, oh. All these white upper class libs, who feel so guilty for being white that they try to make every white person feel bad for being white. It's like they don't know anything about any other communities. They don't know anything about any other countries. They don't know anything about any other races. They just know, oh gosh, oh, white people bad. It's just you can't reason with these people. You can't have a conversation with these people, because there's obviously so retarded that there's nothing that you're going to say that's going to be anywhere close to a meaningful discussion. So all you can really do is just laugh at how ridiculous they are and how stupid they are. And so that's usually just what I do. Like, I'm not going to have a conversation with these people over this stupid shit. So yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah, we just should talk with these people during White History. Oh wait, there's no such thing. Well, that's because all the months are White History Month, right? That's what they would say, which is retarded. But I thought that was kind of funny, so I thought I'd show that to you guys. Thought you maybe make you laugh too, and makes all the liberal Democrats get their panties in a twist because they buy into all that bullshit. And they're just like, what? It's true. It's true. Okay. Whatever. Here's the nerdy little kid who 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin of Cameron, North Carolina. He was the one who went on to Mar-a-Lago's ground. Oh yeah, Straight Pride Month. yeah. Or we could talk about it during Straight Pride Month, I guess too. Yeah, right. No, that's not allowed. It's not allowed. You're not allowed to be straight and be proud. Okay, you're not allowed to be white and be proud, and you're not allowed to be a man and be proud. Don't you know how these things work? This is the way that the way of the world now. You're not allowed to be proud of any of those things. I'm glad all that's changing, because especially Gen Z, that's going to all change. They are not putting up with any of that shit anymore. They're proud. They don't care if people call them racist. They don't care if people try to knock them down and because their whole lives they've experienced this oppression, that they're bad and they're wrong and they're evil because they're straight white men, and they're sick of it. They're tired of it, and they're not putting up with it anymore. And it's going to be real fascinating to see when they come of age. It's going to come fast. People don't realize how fast this is going to come. Okay. I studied the Gen Z a lot and what they're doing and what their beliefs are, what they're saying online. I wouldn't be surprised at all if in 15 years or so, the Supreme Court is considering whether the 19th Amendment needs to be abolished or not. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Like, these kids are a total different breed of people than from all of us post-World War II people who've been indoctrinated with the same thing over and over and over again, who believe in all these categories that they forced upon us and we're supposed to fight for. So, yeah. So anyway, this is the kid who snuck onto the Mar-a-Lago, and he snuck on there with apparently with a container of gasoline. I think he drove on there with a container of gasoline and a shotgun, because he was going to burn the place down. He was going to, because he was apparently so angry about Trump. He didn't get very far. The Secret Service found him. They told him to put down his weapon. He put down the gas can and then went to fire on the Secret Service, and they shot and killed him. So it's sad. It's a young kid. It's annoying to have these young kids be so brainwashed by the libs. But there are people talking about maybe he's transgender, but I don't think there's really any evidence of that as of this point. And people kind of want him to be, because that's kind of like their narrative they're trying to push. But I don't think there's anything that, as of yet, that suggests that he was. And it kind of seems like maybe he was at one point a Trump supporter and is disillusioned by the things he expected Trump to do. I'm not sure, but it's just an interesting story and more another attempt on Trump's life. I don't think he was at Mar-a-Lago at the time, so it's not that big of a deal, but his family reported him missing. He just apparently left and didn't tell anybody. And so he just left. Oh, here's what I was talking about before. This is the chart that I think everybody needs to pay attention to, especially all the white libs, because the white Democrats, because turns out they're actually far more racist than white Republicans. So here's the chart. This has to do with pardoning decisions. So basically what it's showing is you've got the groups at the bottom of the chart there: white Democrats, white Republicans, black Democrats, black Republicans. Okay. So the zero line would be basically not showing any favoritism at all if you're at zero. If the line's above zero, then you show favoritism towards whites. If the line's below zero, you're showing its favoritism towards blacks. Okay, does that make sense? So you can see here that white Democrats, they show more favoritism towards black criminals. Black Democrats and black Republicans, basically the same amount, show the same preference, less support for pardoning white perpetrators. Basically, if it's below zero, you have less support for pardoning white perpetrators. Okay, so the farther below there, the more bias you're showing towards that, and if you're above this line, you would be showing less support for pardoning black perpetrators. Okay, so you can see the one that doesn't actually move, that's closest to the line, that's closest to impartiality by a long margin, is white Republicans. The white Republicans show the least amount of partiality in pardoning. So they pardon black and white at the same rate. White Democrats, not the case. Black, red Democrats and Republicans, not the case. They don't want to pardon white criminals as much as they want to pardon black criminals. So there we go. Turns out white Republicans are the least racist among us. Who would have known? Other than the white Republicans, of course, which they know they're not racists, even though the white liberals are hell-bent on trying to convince the world that they are. Actually turns out they're the least racist among us. So, that's why we should have them running things, because we don't want racists running things. That's a bad idea. The least racist cohort in America, white Republicans. Well, we're just winning at everything, aren't we? We just win at everything. Just can't be stopped. That's a privilege. It's a real privilege. Look at this crazy map. This is crazy. Foreign-born population in Canada. No wonder they're so fucking nuts up there. Look at that influx of people since the mid-'80s. Holy cow, look at how many Asians. And I think a lot of those are probably from India, right? That is crazy, because Canada's population is not even that large to begin with. What do they have, like 40 million people or something? 30 million people? It's not that big of a population. Then you bring in that many millions of people. Wow. Man, talk about huge demographic shift. Wow. That is crazy amount of people. And we think the United States, we've let in a ton of people. Look at how small our chart is. Yeah, it stops at 2021, which we all know it goes up a lot more after that. But for a small population like Canada, this is the amount of people from the United States. Sorry, I was getting myself confused there. They've let in fewer and fewer from Europe and tons of people from Asia. So basically an Asian colony at this point. And, there doesn't seem to be a lot of instability in Canada over this issue, other than in maybe like Alberta. So Alberta is considering leaving Canada and joining the United States. Alberta is where the oil is produced in Canada, and it basically pays for everybody else's life in Canada. So all the social benefits, the social welfare, and all that kind of stuff comes from Alberta's productivity in the oil fields. And Alberta doesn't really appreciate that. They don't like it at all. And so they want to actually leave Canada and join the United States, which I'm okay with Alberta joining the United States. I would take Alberta as the 51st country. I won't take the whole country of Canada as the 51st country. No, thank you. I don't want anything to do with Ottawa. I don't want anything to do with Toronto, Ontario. I don't want anything to do with those people. They can keep the country to themselves and run it into the ground. We don't need to be subsidizing them and paying for their stupidity. Let them reap their own consequences. We don't need any more of those kinds of problems in our country. But Alberta, we'll take Alberta. We could take British Columbia too. I don't think they're too bad. Connect us up to Alaska, and we'll be good. The other half of the country, they can just keep living in their squalor, their liberal squalor, and we don't want anything to do with them. That just cause more problems than what it's worth. Yeah, speaking of Canada, go U.S. hockey. Yep, that's right. I was talked about that earlier. It's a pretty great day for the U.S. It was pretty interesting to beat the crap out of Canada. I didn't beat the crap out of them. Went into overtime, but we won, and it was a good day. So I thought this was really interesting. So because of this foreign population in Canada, because of the increase, it's driven their GDP way down. Now they're supposed to think that, bringing in foreigners is supposed to increase your GDP. I thought it was supposed to be this huge boost of productivity. Well, then how did Canada's GDP go down so far that theirs is lower than Alabama, our 47th highest GDP country? They're like $1,000 of GDP ahead of Mississippi, which is the lowest GDP state in the United States. Canada, they they have the same quality, the same GDP as Mississippi. Now, what they'll say is, oh, well, but we have, free health care and, all these social benefits that are paid for by Alberta, by the way. And, so yeah, whatever. But it's not a good look. Oh, here it is. Okay, I do have the chart here. So this is Canada, the United States, and Alabama from 2014 to 2025. You can see here, the red is Canada. You can see that the United States and Canada were not actually all that far apart back in 2014. And Alabama was way below all of them. So the U.S. was about 53,000, Canada about 50,000, and Alabama about 40,000. Then you look over the course of that 11 year span, and Alabama's just generally just rises along with the United States, goes up the whole time. Canada, it barely moves. It goes up like $4,000, and Alabama's goes up 26,000. The United States goes up something like 35,000. Canada stayed stagnant, stayed flat. Well, where's all this boom from all these Asians that you're bringing in? Where's this huge economic surplus and excess that you're supposed to have? Where did it didn't happen. It didn't do you anything other than it made you stagnate. But, that's how it goes. Well, maybe that's all I have. I thought that I had another chart in here. No, I don't. All right. So let me take a look at some of these comments here. Why not an American History Month and fuck all the special interests? I think that would be great. We need to come back together as a cohesive country and, start thinking once again that our country is an amazing country, that it's exceptional, that it has done amazing things, has created amazing things, has created amazing people, that we have a beautiful philosophy of life, that we have beautiful political system, that we have all these things. One of the things is that I've been reading lately is this book from Ray Dalio. See if I can get this in here. Have you guys read this? Anybody read this? Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. It's a really interesting book, so I would recommend it. He talks about how the world goes in cycles. And he's talking more about monetary policy, financial, stock exchange, things like that, more from a financial perspective. But he talks about the empires and the rise and fall of empires and how they follow sort of this graph that he shows on the front of here, this up and down. So there's six different what would I say, steps that a country goes through as it rises and then as it falls. So step 1 to step 6. Step 1 is like basically you're not a superpower and you have no money and you're broke. And so you have to pull yourself together. You have to save, you have to scrimp, you have to whatever, usually on the gold. You usually have a hard currency like gold standard. Okay. And then as you ascend going up to become more dominant and more economically successful, you're sort of saving and scrimping, kind of like you're like an immigrant moving to a new country, or a very conservative thing, and you're saving all your money and you're not spending anything wastefully. As you get to the peak and you become the global dominant, then you start spending more money on things that are not essentials, right? So this would be sort of like the kids or the grandkids of a successful immigrant, right? They don't know the struggle to get there. And when they're at the top, start spending more money than what you have. And it's not necessarily on bad things. It could be on arts and sciences and things like that don't necessarily have any immediate economic value, but that are good for human species, and things like that. So, but what happens is governments, they go off of the hard money standard because that in order to fuel the growth that's necessary to get to the peak of world power, you have to be able to lend money out, right? Because you can only build so much with like a gold currency, because the money supply is too constrained and too limited. So then you get lenders, you get banks in there who are borrowing people money so they can build buildings, and people are pooling their money together. Anyway, you hit the top, and you hit the top, and overconsumption becomes a problem. And there's too much lending, there's too much debt, and then that's what starts the decline. And then as that goes, basically you go bust as a country, and you have to start back over. And then you start back over at one. At the last step is revolution or civil war. And he sort of sees the America as being in step 5, the step right before civil war, but on a decline. And it's because of the debt is so high. Debt, not just national debt, but personal debt all across the board. And even at some point, the debt gets wiped out. And that's either through seizing assets or through inflating the currency, and it causes big disruption, and a revolution happens, and then it starts back over at one, and then everything gets realigned, and you start back, and now it's like you're an immigrant to a new country again, and you have to be really fiscally conservative. You start with hard money so people can trust the currency, things like that. And so it's pretty interesting, because I think that he's probably right that we are getting close to the revolution, civil war point. Things have gotten more contentious. There's become less trust in the institutions, less trust in the media, less trust in our politicians, less trust in one another. And there's this fight over who's going to end up with the power, whose vision of the future is going to win. Are we going to shut it all down? Are we going to implode? Are we going to blow everything up so that we can start again? That would be like the revolution. Are we going to try to reform these things? Doesn't seem like there's much. Doesn't seem like reform is much of a possibility, because it seems like things are so corrupted and so entrenched that there's very little hope for reforming these things, because the rot has gotten so deep into our institutions that we just need to blow them up and start all over from scratch. And that would be going from stage 6 to stage 1. Usually you lose your reserve. Oh, that's one of the things he said, is like you lose on the way down of decline, you lose your reserve currency status, which we haven't yet. And there doesn't seem to be a very good alternative to our reserve currency, to the US dollar being reserve currency. But never trust a Republican. They have shown who they are. Keep the kids away from them. Yeah, right. You do realize that the people in the Epstein files are basically all Democrats, right? And it's like a Democratic leader every day. Some kind of Democrat leader comes out as, pedophile, having child porn, whatever. It's, obviously there's Republicans who do it too, but it's definitely not a Republican problem. It's definitely something that's plaguing the Democratic Party. They're trying to run away from this Epstein thing, because it's like, oh, look, there's Bill Clinton, and look, there's Bill Gates, and look, it's almost all Democrats. Epstein himself was a Democrat, gave tons of money to Democrat Party, and there's, so the Epstein thing is a Democrat thing. They're all doing it with him. Yep. White Republicans least racist. That's what the chart shows. So yeah, I agree with you. White Republicans are the least racist. So okay. All right. That's going to do it for me today, guys. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow. So if you haven't yet, make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment on the video. I'm on live stream on X, on YouTube, on Rumble. So you can catch me at any of those. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. And have a great day.